Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. Your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, Scott, and Martin, as they kick off this week's discussion.
Ahoy hoy, and welcome to the penultimate episode of the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. I'm your host tonight, Shane, and it's my pick. I have picked Justice League Volume 1 Origins from 2011. This is, of course, written by Geoff Johns with pencils by Jim Lee and ink by Scott Williams, colors by Alex Sinclair, and letters by Pat Brosseur. Did we say Brosseur beforehand, Martin?
Yeah, a little twang on. Brosseur.
I'm terrible with names. We should know this by now. We've been doing it for 3 years, and Scott's the only one that can nail all the names. And unfortunately, Scott isn't here. We think he's having some technical difficulties. He might pop on later if he's able, but the internet's been a bit patchy for everyone this week, isn't it? Maybe he hasn't got his back yet. We don't know. But I am, as always, joined by my fellow super friends. I've got Martin up here.
Evening all.
And I've got Phil up here.
What's up, nerds?
Up, nerds. He stole that from Connie. Let's never forget that he stole his catchphrase.
He's made his own now.
There's no point coming up with a new one now. You know,
he's made it his own now. Just leave it. Let him have it.
As long as Connie's not in the chat, he can have it. So I've picked Justice League Origins. A quick synopsis for this book. Since Barry Allen messed up the entire universe in Flashpoint, we are left with the New 52, a restart of everything DC, meaning characters don't know each other. So in this story, the Justice League have been doing their thing separately, working on their own. But when parademons show up to pretty much get Earth ready for Darkseid's arrival, they have to join forces to try and stop them from bringing Darkseid through and having him turn the world into a new apocalypse. So are they going to be able to work as a team, or is Darkseid going to finally get a win under his belt? We'll find out in these 6 issues. This is issues 1 to 6 of the New 52 run from 2011. So yeah, this is Justice League from the beginning. No prior knowledge needed like the rest of my DC books. That's why I picked it. No questions do I have to answer. Everything starts new. Everything starts here. So before we jump into it, let's just say a quick hello to people who have joined us. We were a little late putting the show up, so thank you for joining. We have the comic book report. He says Justice League. I'm guessing he's a fan. Got 5 exclamation marks after that. Kevin's in. He says evening all. Hi, Kev. We have Steve. Evening, guys. And of course, Liam. Heidi ho. I hope you've all read along. We're all DC fans, so I don't know who to start with. I would have started with Scott, but he's not here and feels sort of a bit iffy. So we'll start with Phil. Go on, Phil. What did you think of Justice League Origins?
Yeah, this is my 3rd or 4th time maybe reading this. Again, with the New 52, as a lot of people, they've seen it as a really good jumping on point. You didn't have to worry about too much that gone before. I picked up the hardcover trades along with the Batman ones, so I was very happy to jump in the DC comics around this time. I kind of forgot all about it, to be honest. I don't know if that's a good thing. Well, it's not a good thing, it's a bad thing. I forgot about the book. When I read it again today, there's so many kind of nods to the movies made so many nods to, like the Zack Snyder Justice League movie made so many nods to this book. Like literally, it's a carbon copy essentially. Let's be honest. But this is so much fun. It's really good fun. Action packed. The art's phenomenal, and it has some issues. But the best thing about it, and Shane, you mentioned it, it's like you don't have to read 1,000,001 DC stories before this to actually kind of get into it. So this is for new readers essentially. If you know who Superman is, you know who Batman is, and Wonder Woman, all the guys. If you know who they are, at least you can literally start here and kick off. But yeah, I'm a fan. I've kept my hardcovers after all these years. Was it 2011, 2012? Was this?
Yeah.
It's a good sign.
Over
I've kept
10
it.
years.
You know,
It's a long time.
yeah, it does have issues. I'm sure we'll delve into it more. But yeah, like I say, the movies picked a lot from this book, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Martin, is this your first time reading it?
No, this is actually my second time reading it, but it's been so long, I've forgot it. And also, I will say, my memory of this is because of the animated movie Justice League War. This is like I've watched countless times, but the book I forgot. So there's little changes from the book to.
So you were waiting for Shazam to show up.
I was waiting for Shazam. Yeah. So and it threw me a little bit when he wasn't there. But I do enjoy this story again, which is why I always watch this, because I think it's a great story. It's a great jumping on point. You've got all the big heavy hitters there, except for Cyborg. Not a Cyborg fan, sadly. But
cool
he's nice.
He's a Teen Titan.
He's a
Teen Titan. He's not a leaguer.
But it's just a good way of introducing him in this book, which is cool. I like the origin story of him in this. But for all the other characters, I like the little touches of humor in it for some of them. I love Green Lantern. From watching the movie, is all I can hear is Nathan Fillion all the way through this book. Yeah, I enjoyed it. The art was great. The story, as Bill said, has its issues. I think there is the odd pacing issue. I think that is definitely better in the animated movie. But overall, yeah, it's a good start.
Oh, good. I think I finally picked a universally liked DC book. So, I mean, I tried with Kingdom Come and Phil just, proved me wrong there. So I'm really happy.
Can I just say, I think I'm pretty certain I scored Kingdom Come a 7.5. So like
exactly.
Yeah. Like it's not like I crapped on the book or anything. It came with a reputation. This doesn't come with any reputation. You could literally start with this if you want. And I get there's so much good stuff you're missing that happened prior and the other universes or whatever you want to call DC continuity these days. But yeah, start from scratch from here, take it forward. But let's be honest. And I think Shane, I wonder if you'll agree with me, but the worst part of this book was Wonder Woman. Let's be honest.
Yes, you can tell that Patty Jenkins took the Wonder Woman from this and put her in the first Wonder Woman movie. The way she acts in the real world, it was a bit. It's a bit jarring to read this because they say it's been 5 years since they've sort of been around. And if you read the Wonder Woman New 52 story, she's in the real world, like she's in man's world for those 5 years. So I don't know why she's acting like that, like this in this book. She's acting very, look, everything's new and amazing. And it's like, no, if you read the Wonder Woman book, she is very much a normal person. She's not portrayed as this sort of ditzy, warmongering, like yippee-ki-yay mother fluffer, jumping into battle with her sword. I do think that might be a Geoff Johns thing. I don't recall much that he's written for Wonder Woman, so I don't know if he knows the character of Wonder Woman very well. She's very anti-fighting. I know she fights a lot in her books, but she would rather deal with things with her words. So the fact that she doesn't even talk to anyone, she just pulls her sword out and just runs straight into battle, is a bit jarring. But yes, I do agree. She is probably the worst thing. Yeah,
she just came across really, like you mentioned, ditzy, like a bit of an idiot. Ice cream. Wow, have you tried ice cream, Steve Trevor? Your chef. What a blessing. It's like it's like as you say, you can experience new things, but not acting the way she was. So I think it was a poor portrayal of her kind of her character. And Kev's mentioning they're actually Green Lantern, and I haven't read much Green Lantern.
He says I found Green Lantern pretty off-putting.
I was 50-50.
Charming.
I liked him at times, but then it became too much. Like
I just think it was done so well because he was meant to be like this hothead pilot with powers. You know, he's just a guy, but he's got powers and he's very headstrong. But when Batman tells him, you know, you're loud, people hear you, but they don't listen to you. Make them listen. And that's when Green Lantern sort of just, you know, this flip switches in his head and he's like, this is serious. I have to, you know, man up now and take things seriously. And he does. But up to that point, yeah, he's very much the comic relief in this book, isn't he?
But it's a shame, really, because like as much as I enjoy this animated movie, he is exactly the same in this. He's arrogant as hell. I love Nathan Fillion as Green Lantern in the animated movie. Don't get me wrong, his portrayal, voice-wise, is great, but he's arrogant. He's so arrogant, and I do get that in this book because he's just cocky, and you can tell with Barry. Barry is consistently trying to bring Hal down through this book, and he's just sort of like, you know, come on, Hal, bring it back, you know. And you go, no, I'll take Superman on, and then you get your ass kicked every time.
He's a test pilot. I assume most test pilots are very arrogant and cocky. You know, that's kind of, you have to be to do that sort of job. So I think he's brought that over into his superhero-ness, hasn't he?
But for me, with Green Lantern, I don't expect that from Hal Jordan. I expect that from
Guy Gardner.
Thank you, Guy Gardner. Guy Gardner's your arrogant Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Hal is, I've always saw him as quite humble, you know.
Because you know a mature version of him. This is a brand new, he's new to this version. So he's got to become that level-headed, mature leader of the Green Lanterns that he's going to become down the line. Everything you knew before was pre-New 52, and obviously a lot later in the run. So this is a brand new Green Lantern. He's been the Green Lantern for just a few years.
But then you can see why Kev has got that. And I'm with Kev on this, you know, 100%. He is off-putting because there's times I like Green Lantern, and I think artistically Green Lantern in this book is great. The way his hard light sort of powers are shown are fantastic, but his attitude just, I want him a bit more developed.
It's shocking, isn't it, considering Geoff Johns wrote this, and Geoff Johns is known for Green Lantern and Flash. Like Flash, he's nailed Flash. Flash is just a perfect representation of Barry in this book.
Yeah.
See, so after reading this again, so I know with what's his name, Ezra Miller, Flash, a lot of people didn't like the kind of quirkiness that he brought to that character. And see, to be honest, kind of there were parts in this story that I can kind of see why the Snyderverse has that in Barry Allen. Like him and obviously Green Lantern, they brought the comic relief, didn't they? You know, Green Lantern, yes, was arrogant, but between the two of them, that's where the kind of quirky, jokey, funny, you know, things come from. And the Flash, I mean, I'm not a big fan of Barry Allen. I know Scott's a massive fan, but I prefer Wally West as the Flash. And so I'm not certain of all the stuff we've read with Flash in it before. I'm not certain this is the best representation of Barry Allen. He does have that kind of weird kind of humor or something, a bit of quirkiness, and annoyingness is the biggest word.
But he's also got the brains. Like he's also very smart. Like when he's trying to figure out how to get away from Darkseid's Omega Beam.
That was a really cool thing. Yeah,
it was so clever. Like he pushes Superman out the way and he's like, get going, we have to run. And then they split up and the beams separate and Superman can't outrun his. But the Flash phases through a parademon, so it hits the parademon. Like he's so smart.
But it's what he says before that sells it for me. You're moving fast, Barry. Think fast.
Yeah.
And then bang, he goes phases through a parademon. It's just, this is why I love Flash.
I think that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, even in the movies, the part whenever Barry Allen had to do something in the movies, like if you think of the Snyder cut, that scene with the Flash was excellent. You know, when he kind of reversed time, but like it was excellent. So whenever it comes to those kind of moments, the movie had that, like the book has it. So he has moments like that where it's like, this is excellent. But then it's the other stuff away from being the hero, you know, just being the kind of part of the team and the bit of banter back and forth. He does come across a little bit stupid, in my opinion.
See, I could go on a 2-hour rant about how I dislike Ezra Miller's Flash, so I won't do that here. But I don't look at that as a true representation. of Barry Allen. I think this is a true representation of him. I think what you see him is in Flashpoint is a great representation. Obviously, Geoff Johns' run as well. We've not touched any of that.
We did the Rebirth.
We did, yeah. Sorry, we did Rebirth. that is Barry for me. You know what Ezra Miller has done on screen. I think has it's sort of. I felt like he was maybe trying to do a little bit of humorous with Wally's humor with Barry Allen's backstory. He just felt like they, and then as you say, comic relief. He's not comic relief.
No,
Barry's a powerful speedster.
Yeah.
Which is why he can go toe to toe with the best of them. Which is why I feel Flash is one of the best in the DC universe. So I'm with Scott. Me and Scott are on the same level. On the same level here.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've grown to like the Flash. The problem with Flashpoint was the fact that there was just a lot omitted from the story we read, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But we read Rebirth, and I can't remember much about it. I didn't like Barry, but as the Flash, he was really good in that story. I've definitely taken more of a liking to the Flash. I just prefer the Wally West version. But I mean, Barry's still cool. I just in this particular story, he definitely had the comic relief part of it, which I do get the impression with Barry Allen isn't the norm. Because what I've read of the Flash more recently, even though Wally West is in it, Barry's also in it as well at times, and you don't get that from him. You get a lot more mature, more serious person, which I think I prefer as the Flash.
Do you think Geoff Johns maybe confused him with Wally West? Because the Justice League animated series, do you remember, from the early 2000s? The Flash in that is very much the comic relief. That's Wally West. That's not Barry under that mask.
That's what I'm thinking. It's just this is the new 52s for a new audience. Essentially, it worked for me, and it worked for countless others in the same scenario as myself who dived in at this point. So it done its job. So this is obviously the kind of Flash they wanted to portray. You know, where they did have the more kind of, like you mentioned Wally West in the early 2000s. So maybe because he was so popular, they wanted to kind of give that kind of persona to Barry. And this is the starting point. It hasn't stuck. Obviously, Barry isn't like that now. But I mean, I'm not crapping on the character. I enjoyed him, but he was more comic relief than I thought that I could remember, and I can see why the movie took that approach.
Yeah,
I think DC probably suffers from the same problem it suffered from before Flashpoint. You know, before Crisis, before Infinite Crisis, before any of the reboots. The problem is they don't have a set standard for personalities for characters. It's just whoever's writing a book will write the characters how they want to write them. So for New 52, they should have sat down all the writers that were going to be writing all the individual books and the ones that were writing the team books and say, right, this is a character, these are these character tropes, and this is how this character will behave in situations A, B, and C. Now you can write your stories, but you do not detour from how this character will act. This one is not a joker. This one is not overly serious. This one doesn't kill. You know, like keep a standard for each character, because you read the Flash book, he's a different character than he is in Justice League. You read the Superman book, he's a different character. The Wonder Woman is a completely different character. You know, Batman, I don't think would have just taken his mask off to show who he was straight away, just met the guy. I really don't see that happening with Bruce.
And Batman was very happy.
I think they were trying stuff, you know, they're trying to do different stuff. And the other thing is Superman was a bit drab as well, wasn't he?
Bit aggressive as well, weren't they?
He's not aggressive.
He wasn't the kind of Boy Scout style Superman that I would be used to.
No, this was a problem that was retconned later on in the books when this Superman is killed, because they're like, he wasn't the real Superman. The real Superman is somewhere else. We're sorry, we know we messed up.
Don't ruin it for me, Shane. We're starting to point now. We don't need to know all their stuff.
But should we get to some art, because
yes,
we have some really good pages to show. We have some pages that were sent in, but I don't have the reasons why, if anyone else does.
I can get them. Go to Martin's page first.
Yes, so we have Kevin and Steve have sent a page in. So if you can find their reasonings, please.
Yep.
So first off, Martin has picked this page. Martin, why did you pick this awesome page?
Well, for anyone listening on the podcast, in the book, you have a page before this one where Green Lantern turns around and says to Aquaman, you know, Superman can fly, you know, I can, you know, I've got a powerful ring. Barry can run fast. What can you do? And then the next page is Aquaman summoning the sharks to eat the parademons. And I think Aquaman's always had a bad rep. He's always been known as the, you know, the one that people dislike from the Justice League. And I think this is a moment where it just shows how badass Aquaman actually is, because I am a big fan of Jason Momoa's Aquaman because he butches up the character a little bit. And this is also what I like as well, because this is what you see in the new 52 version of Aquaman. He's a bit more of a tougher character, and this is what I want from Aquaman. And this page was just, you know, it made a big deal to me to finally see him step up to the plate and, you know, deal with it like a badass.
Absolutely.
I agree. And this was also my page pick, so Martin got there before me. The same, like I always thought Aquaman was a joke character, just, you know. And
where does that come from?
For me personally, I'll tell you where it comes from. Do you remember that sitcom, The Big Bang Theory?
Yeah.
Aquaman sucks.
And exactly, that's why I watched that before I read Aquaman books, really.
Because Aquaman's always been cool. I mean, Aquaman rips his own hand off to save his son and replaces it with a hook at one point in the comics in the 90s. Like, he has a harpoon shooting hook on it for a hand.
I think it's
a tough guy.
I think it's more of the earlier portrayal of Aquaman I always saw, which like is Super very Friends. Yes, Super Friends. It's you know, and that's you know, and it's like, oh, we can talk to fish. Yeah. Wow. You can swim and you can talk to fish. I can talk to fish. They don't talk back to me. I can swim. Most people can swim. You're not doing nothing special, but swimming around in some orange and green.
See, this is the thing too with Aquaman for me is that, I mean, how often do these battles take place near water? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So, like, if you're in another dimension or another world, whatever, and you're fighting the Justice League, you're not really seeing Aquaman's powers other than just being like stronger and have a trident to stab you in the eye. Whereas this picture that Martin picked and I picked as well, it portrays like, well, actually I can control the sharks. They're going to eat the parademons. You know, come near the water, I've got you covered. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And I think that's why I think Aquaman's almost limited in his own books. But I'm sure he's cool. But just for the Justice League purposes, I feel like he is limited because, you know, unless you're like fighting in an aquarium or something, you're not, you know, what's he going to do?
It's a fair point. So that was your original page, but you did pick another one for us. Yeah. Pick this one.
First of all, Jim Lee's artwork is phenomenal. Throughout the whole book, it's really consistent, really, really good. But I really enjoyed the use of the Green Lantern constructs in this. This is early doors too. This is when Batman's running away from he's running away from the GPPD, whilst also getting chased by the parademon. So Green Lantern comes in, kind of saves his ass. But yeah, just have this big fire truck just like knock over the parademon. And initially I thought Green Lantern was cool before he became a bit of a jackass in his dialogue, but initially he was really good. I liked him, and I thought the use of green here was really good.
And the use of color, like, it looks bright. It looks like there's actually light coming from that top panel.
Yeah,
the colors are great.
Yeah, 100%.
Shock of all shocks, I picked a Wonder Woman page, obviously. As much as I didn't like her portrayal in this book, I do enjoy how much fun she's having, stabbing Darkseid in the eye. Like, she's actually laughing that she's just putting her sword straight through his eyeball, because she comes up with the plan, doesn't she? Because they're like, oh, his omega beams can chase you and you can't stop them.
Blind them. Yeah. And
so she looks at Aquaman and she's like, well, we'll blind him. And he's got his trident and she's got a sword, and he's like, okay. He's like, I'm up for that. So she blinds him in the left eye and he takes the right eye with his trident. Great tag teaming.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, Wonder Woman, this book has loads of these splash pages where every character gets their own bit essentially.
Oh, they
So
could
this
have been
one's
the
really
covers,
cool.
couldn't they?
Yeah, but the thing about Wonder Woman, Shane, you cannot like this costume.
No, I
Please tell
don't.
me you don't like. Yeah,
No,
it's horrible.
I do not like the
It's
costume at all. I
horrible.
don't like the color scheme. I don't like the
Yeah,
tiara. I don't
no.
like the armband. I don't like that she has these bands around the top of her arm. I don't like that her boots are black or blue instead of red. I was not a fan of this costume at all.
It just doesn't look like Wonder Woman that I know of. And again, I'm thinking like Gods Immortals and George Perez style, and even just generally speaking, what do you think Wonder Woman looks like? And it's not a blue skirt,
No.
or well, not that shade of blue. If you know what I'm trying to say, yeah.
No, and this is the second attempt at her costume. Originally, in all the promo art, she was wearing black trousers. So she had black black leather trousers on with her Wonder Woman bodice.
Just as
It
well
looked
they
a lot
didn't do
better
it.
than this. No, but
Yeah.
it did look better than this. And there are 3 covers that still have that version on it.
Cool.
But then they changed it and took her trousers away and gave her the pants, knickers, underwear. What would you call it?
Yeah,
Bikini bottom.
leotard, I suppose. It's also the use of silver and not gold. I don't like.
No,
Like
it's just I don't get it. I don't get the
See,
redesign at all.
The redesign here doesn't bother me as much. There are parts of the costume I do dislike, but I actually prefer her second New 52 iteration where it's like the full body suit and it goes back to the gold. If I had to pick one of the two, it'd be the latter of the New 52 run where they changed it. I'm thinking maybe around the David Finch run.
Okay.
I'll have a look
Yeah.
at that. So
Yeah,
I
she's
also
got
don't like.
she's more
she's got-
covered up in the later run, but this is
tiny. The
yeah.
tiny little swimsuit.
For me,
there's too much boob as well.
I feel the natural progression from her classic pre New 52 is Gal Gadot's style, that more
Roman warrior.
Thank you.
Costume,
Roman. Yeah, which is what you see in Rebirth onwards. So, this is just a blip.
Yeah, but my favorite costume will always be the Dodson's redesign back in 2005, where they integrated the eagle and the double W on her chest. I mean, her chest symbol on this one seems like it's got it's just the 2 thin silver W's, and her belt is too small. Like everything about it is just off. It's like there's just something off about every aspect of her costume. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just
and I'm saying this with no basis of knowing all of her costumes, all her iterations. I just know that I just don't like this one in particular.
There's only one costume I hate worse than this costume, and it's the costume she's wearing in that film, Martin.
Oh, really?
Yeah, where she has the thigh-high socks on, and she has her hair in a bun, in like a ponytail, and she has these sleeves up her arm. It is hideous. She has this blue chest. I don't get it. I don't get why they change her costume. It's so iconic. The red, white, blue, gold. It's perfect.
I think they changed it for the animated movie to remove the skimpiness of what this one is. Because you'll remember this is going to be watched by kids. This is a 12 to 12, but 12-year-olds going to watch it. So maybe they try to change it just a tad to remove the skimpiness. But in a way, I can see what they've done because they've tried to go with the red, white, and blue, but because they can't add the white, because the white isn't shiny, they've made it silver. So they're going for the American sort of color scheme, but they've
they just ruined it. Yeah.
I know you're using the word skimpiness, but it sounds like skin penis at times when you were saying it there. They removed the skin what from Wonder Woman?
Yeah, sorry. I'm not making it skimpy.
Yeah.
Scott did give us a page, by the way, but we're not going to know his reasoning, but we can still have a look.
He loves
Superman
Batman.
versus
Scott
Batman.
loves Batman. That's why he's picked it. Batman is so cool. He loves Batman. That is the reason.
Or is it because Batman's about to get his arse handed to him? Maybe that's why.
No, it's not. He loves the Bat. That's it.
That's when Batman emptied his utility belt on Superman, and Superman is still coming. He has nothing that can stop him at the moment. It's their first meeting, and Batman is completely outgunned, outmatched, and he's done for. But the good thing is they're not fighting to the death. He does reason with him after this, but it was very cool. However, I put it down as a bonus page because I thought Scott was going to pick this page. I thought Scott was going to pick the Flash showing up and just sort of embarrassing Superman before Superman gets a chance to beat the crap out of Green Lantern and Batman. Green Lantern calls Barry. He's like, I need your help. He's like, get over here. And Barry's there in an instant, just grabs Superman, spins him around, just twats him away. And then the next page is even cooler because Superman's trying to punch him and he's just ducking and dodging. And he's like, no one's ever laid a hand on me, so you might as well stop trying. And it's like very, very cool, Barry Allen. I did think Scott was going to pick that. I'm surprised he didn't.
I love the fact that all the Flash pages, he's picked Batman.
I know.
Let that sink in. He's converting over to a fan of the Bat.
Well, I'm going to put it down to the fact that
Batman gave Superman a chance.
He did.
Well, I'm going to burst your bubble, Phil, because I'm going to put it down to the fact that Scott's not here because he's not feeling very well. So obviously he picked that page while he was a little bit delusional. He missed his Flash pages, bit delirious, you know, not knowing what he's doing, and thought, oh, I feel like it's a bit of Batman. Let me humour him.
Do you have Kev's reasoning for his page, Phil?
I do.
Here's Kev's page.
It's worth noting that this is page 1, by the way, because I didn't realize until I checked it just before we came on. So Kev has said, I'm a huge Jim Lee fan, so any page in this comic would have been my page pick. I went with the first page, though, purely for the first panel. The detail on the GCPD is crazy. Also, Batman is on this page. So we have 2 Batman fans, Kevin and Scott. But yeah, this was page 1. And that first, like, it's the first panel of page 1. And look at the detail. Like, you know what you're in for. Even like the marks on the gun, like the kind of, what do you call them? I don't know, creases on the silencers there and stuff. Like the detail, and that's crazy.
Yeah,
love it. Little nicks and marks where it maybe, you know, it's been hit or dropped on something, or, you know, it's worn.
The lighting, the shading, like, again, it looks like a really in-depth picture. Big action scene chasing the Bat. Yeah, it's such a cool picture. And the fact that the Batman has like the kind of lasers on his head, like, you know, they've got him in their sight. They've got his on target. And you can see the wee laser beam going across the front of the gun and then fading out as it gets closer to you. It's so cool. Well done.
It is. Jim Lee knows his stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have Steve's reasoning for picking his page?
Yeah, I do.
Here's Steve's page.
He says, page for tonight, no real reason other than Wonder Woman kicking ass on a 2-page spread. And that's, you know, it looks cool. I mean, we kind of talked about her costume and stuff, but it's no denying that this is drawn wonderfully.
Yeah.
And see the star on her chest. That's what I don't like. They've made, like, it's a star instead of a double W. Like, why?
I mean, it still looks really cool. I just don't. I mean, it's hard to actually, you know, look away from the boobage as well, to be brutally honest.
She does have the second best rack in the DC universe. It's been noted in one of the books.
But it is very skimpy. Let's be honest, and it's not what it used to with Wonder Woman, in my opinion. But it's the silver I can't get over.
No,
it just needs
why
to be gold.
Change it from gold?
Make it gold. Yeah.
I don't get the changes. I just don't understand it. I know they redesigned quite a few of the characters, but like Batman and Superman stayed exactly the same. They just put their pants on the inside. That's all they did.
Well, Jim Lee redesigned these, didn't he? Come up with the concept art. So, you know,
why?
As much as he's a great artist, you know, he does question where the inspiration comes from the suit.
Well, I mean, he was also in charge of DC at the time, so, you know, he had no one to tell him, like, do you want to maybe pull that back? Do you want to maybe go with gold? It's like, he's the top boss, so he's like, no, I'm going with that. So,
I didn't realize he was the top boss this time. I thought it was after this.
Oh,
so wasn't Dan Didio still around at this point? He was only removed after.
I thought maybe 2010s was Lee's time.
I think Lee obviously sold them, or sold Wildstorm, wasn't it, to DC before this? Obviously, he then went to work for DC, but I'm not sure he was the top dog at this point.
Oh,
because I thought he was more right.
You are right, because Wildstorm did come in at this point because Grifter was part of the New 52. He did get a title in the New 52. So
yes. Okay, so we're agreed the art is pretty good in this book. You know, I don't think most people could fault the art. It's Jim Lee. He's just been consistently good since he started doing Batman in the mid 2000s with Hush. You know, like that's what he's known for, is Batman. But story wise, like you said, there are some things that we can nitpick at. Let's start with Phil again on that. What do you think of the story?
I liked it. It was entertaining. It was fast-paced action, but it was also very convenient in terms of this put everyone together. I mean, it's 6 issues, so we have the 6 Justice League members all conveniently coming together. 7, and yeah, we got a wee bit of origin of like Cyborg, for example. Aye, the Super Set. I mean, yeah, but it was hard to get everyone across the right way. I think Batman came across like a good leader, obviously taking his mask off and going through the portal that gets Superman, because he realizes we need Superman for this fight. Again, like the movie, like Ben Affleck we need Superman, we need him back. Yes, but we killed him, or he's dead, but we need him, so we'll bring him back. That all seemed very quick, but the Superman was he left a lot to be desired, to be honest. Just again, not what I'm used to. Again, like you mentioned aggressive, and he was quite aggressive, but he didn't have that kind of moral compass, I suppose. You know, Wonder Woman was an idiot. Let's be honest; she was written really poorly, and I'm surprised by it. And I didn't actually catch on. You said this is 5 years where they've been together or they've been out or whatever. So she shouldn't be getting excited about ice cream. It should be more. It should be a more serious thing. And I think that kind of didn't annoy me, is the right word. I didn't take to that part of it too well. I expected more. Again, you had the quirkiness of the Flash, but the story overall seemed a wee bit a good introduction. You got Darkseid, you know, trying to come into this world and take over. And then obviously you have the whole idea where Cyborg sees through his lens or whatever and sees what's actually going to happen and what happened elsewhere. And then he goes. So it's a good introduction to say, well, something's going to happen down the line. And obviously, as we know, it leads to the Darkseid wars, doesn't it, towards the end of this run. So here's the start. Here's what they expect. Now we're going to do other things, which is all right. It's a good introduction to bring them all together. It did seem very... what's his name? Who made the first Avengers movie? For his name,
Joss Whedon.
Josh Whedon. It seems very Josh Whedon, Avengers style, and for the Justice League, which we did kind of get.
We did get,
which was rubbish and done better anywhere. So this could have been done slightly better, in my opinion.
yes, Joss Whedon's Justice League was trash because that's where we got the Flash, where he only ran up to people and pushed people.
Yeah.
But as I said, I'm not going to get into that. My issue with the story, and I'm going to bring up my prop again because this is what my comparison is, because this is obviously the exact same story from start to finish. You know, I read this book quicker than this movie, and I'm a slow reader, so I just felt as if the pacing in this book was a little too quick. I felt that from the animated movie, we got a little bit of Superman's charm missed out of this book. I think Hal Jordan, as much as he's arrogant in the animated movie, he's funny and he does play. He's playful with it, and he has the scene with Batman at the start in the sewer. In the book, he just sounded arrogant, where in the animated movie, it's a bit more comedic. You know, and there's a few lines that have been added to the animated movie that are a little bit more, that work a bit better. You know, it's for me, it's like overall, the story wise is great, but again, it's just the pacing. You know, it's just, I felt for 6 issues, I flew through this and a lot was crammed in, where in the animated movie, I think they just fleshed it out a little bit better. You know, that's just me.
It definitely felt crammed in. I mean, even if you consider Cyborg, his origin happens like in real time. Do you know what I mean? Like it happens, and straight away he's in the fight against Darkseid. And I get obviously the way he was created. I understand it, but it just seems like everyone's just thrown in all together. I'm not saying it's wrong in terms of like you're not entertained, but in terms of trying to get like a more in-depth build up to something pretty big, you're not. You're just kind of thrown into it, and even the aspect where so you're getting the impression that the heroes are still kind of hated until this event happens. And then obviously the event happens and like, oh, we love you. Thanks very much. Here's the president giving you like a medal or something. All that seems rushed. You know, like you didn't see like, you know, Superman trying to beat one of his villains and then like destroy a building by chance and get hated by the people. Or do you know what I'm He didn't have the chance to see that. So you're just kind of told it was just fine. I'm not saying it's wrong, but just again for what we're used to for a big event, I like a little bit more build up. Than what we got, but I was still entertained. Don't get me wrong.
I think it's very much it went down the route of a popcorn movie. It was just an action comic book to just get the Justice League together, to get you introduced to the characters and get them to become a team.
Yeah,
and I think if you want any backstory, you have to get the individual stories.
Yeah, this is going to say like I'm not reading. I didn't read. I read Batman. Was the only New 52 book I had actually read. I didn't care for Wonder Woman or Superman and the rest of them. So like I'm not getting that elsewhere. So as a guy who's just come in and reading this for the team book and only knowing the Batman stuff, it's fine. It's a popcorn movie, but you're not getting the most what you could have got. But then again, you don't want a long build up either. You don't want 2 trades or 3 trades to get what we got. So it's a fine line, to a fine balance. But this was definitely leaning too much towards the too much action and too much going on.
Yeah, that's fair. Kevin brings up a good point. He says Wonder Woman reminded him of the MCU Thor in the first Thor film. That's like we're just ditzy and everything's new and everything's different. But when you have, I suppose, because it's normal to you, like Wonder Woman fights gods and monsters on Themyscira, like Thor fights gods and monsters in his realm. So that's the norm to them. So when they come to our world and things are just mundane and dull, they're in awe of that. So I think that's why we're a little bit like, why are they in awe of that when they fight gods and monsters? But to them, gods and monsters is their 9 to 5, and coming to Earth is their club. Like that's their nightclub, their night out. So I think you kind of have to excuse them a little bit for being so enamored by our world.
Yeah, but like there's been enamored, and then there's been like calling the ice cream truck man a god because he serves ice cream. Do you know what I mean? It's too far that way. I'm not saying it's wrong. I know what you're saying. Can I ask a question though? So were you both reading the New 52 at the time of New 52 when it came out, Martin?
I was a little late to the game. I probably started reading the odd title around 2014 when I first started collecting, and Justice League was one of the early titles I picked up because I had most of this in trade. When I upgraded to the Omni, I actually gifted the first half of this story to Scott. So Scott's got my original trades for this run.
The reason why I ask is just because like I have the hardcover trades as well, and I can't remember because I was only reading Batman. Like Batman was the main one for me. I can't remember where this came down the line. As in, did they have all the individual books out for like say 6 months, 8 months before this team book came out, or was it a case of like straight away here's the team book? See, I feel like that's wrong.
Per month. Yeah, they brought out 52 titles per month. This was in the first wave.
So literally 52 books. I know it was 52 titles, but 52 books every
52. And then after about 12 issues, they cancelled a couple, but replaced them. So I think for the first 3 waves, they constantly had 52 titles being released a month.
It was the gimmick, wasn't it, for the New 52?
Mm-hmm. I knew it was 52 titles and 52 issues and all the rest of it, but like 52 books a month is like a lot of books every week.
13 books a week.
Yeah,
you ignore the 5th week.
That's quite
when you actually start looking into the new 52, because when I first started collecting, and even now you start looking at them a bit more in depth. You can see what went the long haul. You know, your smaller
Yeah.
titles, even like Frankenstein and the Agents of Shade, and Steve Luggerfield's. There's a couple of titles, even Grifter. You know, they dwindled off after sort of like 1 or 2 trades. You know, even more prominent characters like Blue Beetle only got 2 trades. Your most ones like Wonder Woman, Flash, Batman, Justice League, they got the long haul. They got the 52 run issue run for it, but others were lucky to get to maybe 25.
Yeah.
Because
So
there were
Superman,
other...
Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash, Justice League, possibly Justice League Dark. But I know that because they did some really nice. Oh, okay, because they did some really great homage covers for issue 52, where they homaged the first. They got different artists to do the first cover again.
Okay,
So,
okay, I might be wrong. It's a big fat book. I will say that the omnibus is a big one.
As a gimmick, then I mean, I can remember again with the Batman story. So issue 13 of every book was like Death of the Family, wasn't it? And they all had that Joker cover.
The die cut cover, yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool. If they had that for every, well, I suppose not every series, but the main kind of Bat series, I suppose, it's really cool. Like they had that idea of that. So, and there would have been multiple Batman books as well. I know the Dark Knight,
Yeah, Detective Comics and Batman were the 2 that lasted 52 issues. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
the Dark Knight or something, or I think it's called the Dark Knight. I have the hardcover.
That lasted an entire 52 issues though.
No, Batman gets the most
issue
love.
23, they did gimmicks quite a lot. After issue 13, they brought out an issue 0 for every title that was out. And then issue 23, we got 23.1 and 0.2, 0.3, and 0.4, which were lenticular covers.
Villains. Villain covers.
Yeah, and then you got some wraparound covers for I think issue 19. Like they did quite a few gimmicks along the way for 52. They really ramped it up.
But
monster covers.
The point I was trying to make, in terms of bringing this out straight away, it doesn't seem right. It seems like it should have been a little bit more down the line. Do you know what I mean? Like, again, like the Avengers movies, you're building up to a team book, not just straight away fired in. But I suppose that to make sales, and the new Justice League team book would sell. So,
no, but I'm with you. I actually agree with you on that, because I think when you're doing 52 titles and all of these characters got their own book, you know, there's no reason why we couldn't have got 2 or 3 trades down the line of each run before we then dived into a team book.
Yeah, it's like the Death of Family for the Batman book. So just do an event, like, you know, in 12 issues, whatever, do an event that's Darkseid, and then have them all come together. At this point, they maybe already aware of one another, but never worked with each other, so they, you know, they have issues or whatever. But just bring them together organically, I suppose, in an event book, and then have a Justice League book spin off that. But I get what they've done. You know, it's not like the reader doesn't know who Justice League is. They knew who they were and they wanted to buy the book. And
it could have also been a thing where someone don't have the money to buy 4 different books each month to read their favorite characters. You know, if you're a Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman fan, you might not have the $10 a month to spend on comics, but you'll have the $3 a month to spend on one comic, and you get all your characters in one.
Yeah. The new 52 is a funny thing. Like I say, Martin has some of the omnibuses, and I know there's quite a few out, but I know there's still so many to go.
I think they had 6 or 7 waves in the new 52 run before Rebirth, before DCU and then Rebirth.
Okay.
So you have got quite a few that stop. There's this website you can go to that will tell you all 52 issues, and then when they cancelled and what took its place, all the way down to like wave 7 before they gave up, because at some point it went down to like they had 45 titles a month. They just gave up on the 52 thing. They went down, they went up. They were like, no, we can't keep this up. It's too hard to keep track of exactly 52 issues a month.
Which is mad, because it's not like they didn't expect that. It's happened before, and it still happens today, where they have even like a Catwoman book. It doesn't go like a full distance. Had to change something, reboot it back to number 1 with a new team, a new kind of storyline, whatever. They can't seem to maintain the momentum for a lot of the books that aren't Batman or Superman.
But I think I like trying the different characters, but I do agree with you there. I think one mistake they do is instead of realizing that this character is not working right now, instead of just thinking, let's shelf this character, because that's what they did in the New 52. They shelf the character. If it wasn't selling, let's stop it in its tracks and shelf it, put it away. But now, more lately, they just seem to think, right, let's just change the creative team and let's have another go. And it's not. That doesn't work, because if I'm already put off by a character, I don't want to keep reading that character, because you're not going to sway me on a new run, because you continue it as like volume 5. No,
unless you put Batman in the book.
Well, I mean, you could introduce them into other titles to get to know them, and to get, if you find the right team up, if you can put them in the right book, you could learn to like a character. But the problem is, they're pushing characters that people don't want.
Yeah, and to be fair, like, again, kind of bring it back in with this story, it's not have a problem with the story. It just seems very rushed, because there are so many books that you're saying they're trying to put out there, and they had to sell it. And as Shane mentioned, if you're a person who likes all 7 of those characters and you can't buy 7 books a month, you could buy this and still get out of it what you want. So I totally get it. It's just it as a reader, it just seems like you're just throwing it at us. Here we go. Here's 7 characters. Here's their origins. Here's all their meetups. Here's all their splash pages. Here's the powers they got. Here's their fights and their bickering. Oh, and here's Darkseid, the power demons. It just seems like there's a lot in this book.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, because I haven't read this full run. I'm hoping this is actually going to be like a prelude volume. So we've had a lot rushed in, and this book goes for 2 omnis. I think there's like 8 or not 8, 9 trades. So we've got a long run, 850 odd issues. We've got a long run. 52. I'm hoping this
keeping the theme.
52.
An annual. There's going to be an annual in there too, though.
He's got to be in one or 2.
An annual and a 0 and some tie-ins and some crossovers.
We've got a nice amount of content there. I'm hoping this might be a little prelude, just setting up to a more, fleshed out run, where we get a little bit more substance to build up to Darkseid War.
I'm thinking the exact same thing. Like this run's gonna be bookended. Is the right word? Like with Darkseid at the start and the Darkseid Wars at the end. So I think you're 100% right. And I haven't read the full run. I've actually read the first 2 trades, first 3 trades. I actually covered the first 2 with Chris on Chris's channel a couple of years ago, and I enjoyed them then. But I do think the whole run overall will be a better reading experience than just this. But I still really like this. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. I mean, Darkseid mentions he's there looking for his daughter, so that obviously has to come back. So you're in for a treat. Did you read the prologue at the end with Pandora and Phantom Stranger?
That's how it was. I know he was called Stranger, but I don't know who that is.
That's the Phantom Stranger. That's a build up to Forever Evil, which is a big old crossover event with Justice League Dark and Justice League International and Justice League United. I can't remember what the third one was.
It's the realms of the
Justice
magic.
League of America, Justice League Dark, and Justice League. Yeah,
it's moving to Magic Order, isn't it? That's where we're moving. We're moving into the all the Dr. Fate and all the stuff like that.
Yeah, because we saw Pandora in Flashpoint, didn't we? When Barry was running through, she was standing behind, holding the gold skull. That was Pandora. She's responsible for the universe being the way it is. It's not Barry's fault.
So it's her fault.
Actually, Pandora's fault. Yes, Pandora rewrote everyone's history. I
actually bought the Forever Evil hardcover recently because I realized I'd have it missing for this kind of run. So that's good. It's and I have contacts about what it's about now. Do
you know who the Phantom Stranger is?
No, apart from the guy in this book.
I know who the Phantom Stranger is.
You know who the Phantom Stranger is? It's Judas, the man who betrayed Jesus for 25 pieces of silver. So he's been punished to walk the earth and watch over it and not interfere in anything that happens.
Which is why she says, I know who you are. If they knew who you are, they wouldn't help you.
Yeah.
No, I don't like it.
It's good. When you start diving into the magic side, I think it is good because you got the Spectre involved and stuff. I like. I
like the Spectre for he's been in. I like John Constantine, so I'm hoping he has some stuff for him as well.
He does, yeah. He and Zatanna are.
Yeah, I do like the magic stuff, so that'll be interesting to get into.
Absolutely. Should we get into our final thoughts and scores? It's about that time. I think I have a... Yes, we do. We have a transition. We might as well use it. It's the penultimate episode. We're only going to see it one more time. So, Phil, do you want to give us your thoughts and scores, please?
So I am torn on this in that I've read this a few times. I think I enjoyed it this time round. So I read it at the start, and it's one of those ones so like, okay, I'm in. It's balls to all action. I'm enjoying it. That's fine. But when I read it again, I read it for Chris's channel, I was more critical. I'm thinking it doesn't really, have like being a reader for a few years longer, I was like taking it apart a little bit more. But then this time around, I felt like I was just having fun with it again. I definitely feel like I enjoyed it more because of the movies, the Zack Snyder movies, even though they could be trash, whatever. But like I feel like there's so much to it that's obviously taken from this. It's like, oh yeah, that was cool too. Wonder Woman's not good in this. Superman's not his best in this. The Flash is okay, but those moments where he was being chased by the dark side, whatever, fire tracer, whatever it's called,
Mega Beam.
Mega Beam, that's the one. Like that's cool, but I feel like I wanted more of that. I wanted more of that kind of stuff from the Flash. That's what I expect from the Flash. The Green Lantern had loads of cool scenes and moments in this, but ultimately the art's phenomenal, but the story was very rushed, action heavy. But as Martin had said, it seems like it's a prelude to the overall run. So this isn't a bad thing. I had a good time with it. It's not the most thrilling story you can give us as a Justice League book. So I think I'm sitting around a 7.5. Like I really enjoyed it, but I feel like I want to give the whole run a chance now, and I'm hoping there's room for improvement, and we get a really good strong finish with the Dark Side Wars. So it's a good start.
Nice.
And I understand why they rushed everything and what was said about it's the new 52. But please just don't do Wonder Woman Silver again.
No.
Please.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. In the chat, if you've read along, also put your scores in and we can add it to ours. So don't forget. Only if you've read along, don't cheat. Martin?
I am going to near enough copy exactly what Phil said. I'm in the same boat with Phil on this. It definitely feels like a prelude to a bigger story, which we know it does go into the Dark Side War. I really want to go further in this run. I was really shocked. I forgot Aquaman was in the book this early because I've been so prop again. Get the prop up again. Shazam takes Aquaman's place in the movie. So if you haven't seen it, give it a watch. It's a good movie. But I like Aquaman in this. I like where it goes with Aquaman. So I want to read more. I want to see if this really opens up how I'm hoping it's going to open up. But there are characters that are poor, unfortunately, in this. And there are some that are good. The story is rushed, sadly. For 6 issues, I felt we maybe could have, paced it a little bit better. But overall, I'm still willing to carry on. Art from Jim Lee is fantastic all the time. The problem I have with Jim Lee is Jim Lee don't stick around long enough to give himself a good run. Because if I remember rightly, doesn't Jim Lee step off this book after the 12th issue? Yeah, as much as Jim Lee is an amazing artist, he doesn't stay in one place long enough.
No.
But for me, I'm going exactly where Phil is, 7.5. I'm hoping this is going to get better. I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to carry on. So, a strong start.
Awesome. So for me, I read this in singles when it came out in 2011. I read it 1 issue a month, and it was one of the books that I was looking forward to. And I think at the time I had 3 titles that I actually looked forward to. It was this, the Wonder Woman, and the Batgirl run. They were the only 3 that I was enjoying. And I think if you read it month to month and you have that 1 issue, it's got enough action in it to keep you entertained. It's introducing the characters. I thought it was a great way to introduce a new Justice League for the new 52. Reading it as a trade, I completely understand that it feels rushed. It did, obviously, for me, It took me 6 months to read it the first go round, so it didn't feel rushed. So reading it as a trade, 100% I get what you're saying. Completely understand. Love the artwork. Yeah, Wonder Woman's trash. I think that's just Geoff Johns. I don't think he knows Wonder Woman. He's a Green Lantern Flash guy, so I can't hold that against him. But Jim Lee just smashes every character. I mean, Darkseid looks amazing in this book. So threatening and just towers over everyone. And he's just walking through the city, just dominating everyone. I thought it was fantastic. But yeah, I'm close to you guys. I think this is obviously a starting point, so it can only get better. But for me, I'm going to go slightly higher. I'm going to give it an 8.
Nice.
We do have some scores in the chat. Some people have read along. Tottenham Gaming, I know he's a massive Batman fan. He says 9. So if Batman weren't in this, it probably would have got a 4 from him. Steve says 7 out of 10. It was just like a fun summer blockbuster, tons of action and great art. Absolutely, yeah. There's your summer blockbuster. Just go watch the film. Kevin says, I'll give this a 7. The artwork is what made it for me. And that's coming from an artist. So high praise there. Steve, 7 out of 10. He's typed it twice. It's
Double the fun.
You're not getting 2 7s. And Funky Gibbons gives it a 7 out of 10 as well. No reason. Phil, do you have their average?
Just talk for 3 seconds.
Can I just add then, while Phil's working this out, if anyone in the chat has noticed the irony of Shane's pick this year, this for these final book, for the last couple of years, Shane has always shown his love for 90s DC and has not a lot of love for New 52 onwards. And isn't it ironic how Shane ends the Nerd Herd on his final pick on a New 52 title?
That's because of you lot, though, because every time I pick a DC book, you go, oh, I need context. Oh, what happened before? So I thought, if I get you a book from the beginning...
out. I've got to call you out on this one. It had to be done.
I did change it. This initially was going to be my final pick for season 4. Because I had my entire season 4 pick planned out. I was going to do an entire journey through the DC universe. My final pick was initially going to be Gotham City Sirens, wasn't it? The volume 1. I was going to end this season on some Harley. But I thought I'd mix it up and have my final ever pick, something from the beginning, so no one needed any prior knowledge.
I was really looking forward to Gotham City Sirens too.
Me too, actually.
Anyway, so the guys in the chat, so Tottenham Game give it a 9, Kevin a 7, Steve a 7, and Funky Gibbons with a 7. That gives a herd average of 7.5. So add that with my 7.5, Martin's 7.5, and Shane's 8. That's right. Gives us an average of 7.6.
Ooh. They're not bad. We're all in the same ballpark, really.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look. Obviously, doesn't hit the top 10, unfortunately. You need a 8.3 or higher to get to the top 10. But where does the 7.6 get us? Oh, technically still in the top 10 then. It joins Once and Future Volume 3 and 4 with a 7.6. So I did hit the top 10. So I'm happy with that. Technically.
That region of books there, like 7.5 up to the 8.3. That I mean, that's a good collection of stories in there, to be honest.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, look, we from 18 up, I mean, it's all 6.4s. So we've not scored we've scored 2 books below a 5 this season. So that's not bad, is it?
No.
We've had some really good picks this year. Next week is the final ever Nerd Herd, and we are not doing a viewer pick next week. What we are going to do to honor the man who has been sat here with us week after week after week, waiting patiently for season 4 to begin so that he can start having his picks. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So we've decided to give the final ever Nerd Herd pick to Martin. So Martin is going to finish the Nerd Herd with something great, I hope. Martin, please tell us what we're reading next week.
I've had weeks to think of something to pick. I tied it down to a couple of picks because this is going to be my one book. So I went for this book because we've never had a book like this on the Nerd Herd before. So I am trying my luck. And I think the title of this book is very fitting as well, which is just an added bonus. So next week, we're going to be reading the start of Frank Miller's epic story, Sin City, with The Hard Goodbye.
I think
Would it
we
be the
do
hardcover?
actually. I think we do actually have the video for it. So let's have a look and see what it looks like, shall we? Such a
First
fitting
black and white?
title.
Black and white.
Second, self-storage was black and white.
Oh.
Yes, but such a fitting title for the final ever Nerd Herd. So I do hope you'll join us next week for the final ever. Next week we will be moving to a Thursday for the final ever episode. So we will obviously put the episode up so you'll know. Hit that bell so you don't forget to just say goodbye to us. Just join us for our final ever show live. Say goodbye, pop in the chat, read along and give us your score for the final ever book. It's been 3 wonderful years. But yeah, so that's it. We don't have a Kev's draw along because he finished last week. Everything's coming to an end. It's so sad.
But still, go
But
back
you
and
can-
check Kev's stuff. There's loads of it.
Absolutely. We have a playlist with all of Kevin's draw-alongs. You can also rewatch any of the quizzes. Martin and I do a showcase where we show some variants. Phil does an omnibus show. So there's loads of content still on the channel. You can go back and check.
And also check out our Instagram pages because Kevin recently done us a what's it called? A chibli?
Chibi.
Chibi? So like a a drawing of
Oh,
us.
yeah.
And I have to say, I think I'm the best looking one.
He did amazing on all of us.
Yours
He
is
drew
cool.
us as our favorite characters, and we just look fantastic. We've changed them all to our profile pictures because how could we not? But yes, thank you, Kevin. They are fantastic. It's my new profile picture everywhere. It's awesome.
Me too. Everywhere. I love it.
We'll show them next week. We'll upload
Yeah,
them
yeah.
so we can show them on here so you
Yeah,
can have a
definitely.
look. But until then, there's nothing left to do but get your waves out. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Love you.